All right, guys, it is about 5:17. I'm about to get off of work and it is almost dinner time and I'm super excited. And normally I'm not always excited about cooking dinner, but I'm a little excited because I am going to make for dinner for the first time pasta fagioli. Pasta fagioli. Pasta fagioli. I don't know. Am I saying that right? I probably am not. Please don't judge me. So a little bit of a background. My husband had it for the first time when we went to Olive Garden this weekend. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Olive Garden. It's fine Italian food, at least for me. But I tasted the soup, and although my husband was very enthused with it, I've had it from some amazing Italian restaurants, primarily in New York, where I'm originally from, like in Little Italy, and even in my neck of the woods. So I know what good pasta fagioli tastes like. So when he tasted it, he was like, "Oh, this is really good." And I tasted what he was eating. I was like, it's not horrible. You can eat it, but it's not what I'm used to. So I've been researching a lot of different recipes. I've been researching a lot of, looking at a lot of videos, and I took a little bit of here, a little bit from there, and I'm going to try to recreate it to the best of my ability. And hopefully it comes out good, guys, because I love pasta fagioli. I just need it to come out good because my husband's really excited about the soup, and if it isn't, he's probably going to be really disappointed. So let's go into the kitchen and make some pasta fagioli. All right, guys, so we have some dellatini pasta, some chicken stock, some northern great beans, I believe that is, and some catalini beans, some San Marzano tomatoes. We also have some tomato paste, some onions, some garlic, some carrots, as well as bacon, and some parm. So as you guys see here, I'm going to go ahead and chop up some of that bacon, actually the whole pack of bacon. Normally this recipe calls for some pancetta, but unfortunately the market that I went to did not have any, and I really did not have the time to go to another market, so I just went ahead and substituted it with some bacon. And I saw a lot of different recipes that use bacon as a substitute. Now I'm probably adding way too much bacon, but in my world that's not the case. I really love the smoky taste bacon and pancetta gives to the soup, so I added a lot. I'm going to go ahead and take that cold bacon, add it to a cold Dutch oven, and then turn on the heat. That's just going to just make sure the fat renders down a lot, and that way we don't have any major big fatty pieces of bacon in the soup. I'm going to go ahead and peel and chop up here, so I would say about 6 or 7 cloves of garlic. I know that seems like a lot for some. In my world, it is not. Garlic is in my flavor wheelhouse, I would say. So I'm gonna use a lot of garlic. And again, this is a soup. No need to get fancy with the chopping. Chop it very roughly. It's all going to be cooked down. Doesn't really matter. I would say not to leave any major big pieces of garlic, even though it's going to be in the soup for a while. But just chop it off roughly. You should be fine. Now, one thing I don't think I did record is me cutting up the onions, but onions were cut and added. As you guys see here, I did go ahead and peel about 3 carrots, as well as I'm going to go ahead and grate that. You can chop it up as well, but I really wanted these carrots to cook down, just because in a lot of the places that I've had this soup before, I've never seen big pieces of carrot, but I love the flavor carrots give to the soup. It kind of gives it an undertone of sweetness to it. So I went ahead, some recipes did call for it, some recipes didn't. I just went ahead and went with some carrots and decided to grate them because, again, it just really cooks down in the soup. some parm. Now, surprisingly, this parm, me and my husband killed this parm, and I was getting tired, so I decided to use the bigger side of the grater. But yeah, this parm was destroyed, and I'm actually going to use that rind in the soup. Now, normally I would buy the Parmesan cheese with the Parmesan Reggiano stamp on the rind. That's how I was always taught that you know it's real parm, but that's all I have, so that's what I use. So I went ahead and added the onions and garlic to the bacon and the bacon fat, and I'm just going to go ahead and cook that down. Scrape up all that yummy goodness at the bottom of that pan. Now at this point, we're going to just go ahead and add our carrots. And again, just scraping the bottom of that pan. And as you guys can see there, that's bacon fat has totally been absorbed by the other vegetables, so it's not going to be greasy at all. And as you saw in that bowl, we have about 4 cans of beans, and then we just added some tomato paste, and we're gonna go ahead and cook down that tomato paste. Now, there were some recipes that called for tomato sauce. What I'm gonna do is just use some San Marzano whole tomatoes. I used about 3 or 4 of whole tomatoes. I think I used 4. Yeah. And I'm just gonna go ahead and break that apart. At one point, I even used my fingers. My hands were clean, guys, I promise. Rinsing off my hands again. So we're just going to go ahead and take those crushed whole tomatoes, which were 4, along with some of the sauce, and add that to the pan. And I'm going to take that rind of parm and just add that in there. And literally, guys, and cook that. I left it in the pan. I don't even remember finding that rind. I honestly think it cooked down completely. I went ahead and just stored those whole tomatoes. I went ahead and added that to my freezer. I don't use crushed tomatoes or whole tomatoes often, but I didn't want to throw that away. I'm sure I can eventually use it, so I just put it in my freezer. So here I'm adding a whole container of chicken stock. You can just add water, but I added chicken stock for flavor. And then I'm going to also add about 5 cups of water. I didn't think that was enough, so I'm gonna add about 3 more cups. And went ahead and added those beans. And it's gonna seem a very liquidy right now, but guys, it's gonna be super thick by the end of this video, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm just gonna head and adding some seasoning. I added some garlic powder, some onion powder, some garlic salt, also some Italian seasoning as well. I'm gonna add some salt and pepper. And as this cooks, especially when you add your pasta, it's going to absorb a lot of that, the saltiness of the soup. So eventually you're going to have to adjust it to your taste and what you like. I like my food very well seasoned, so I keep trying it as I go and just adjusting it. More seasoning. So I'm letting that cook down, and now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna take some of that bean and liquid, and we're gonna blend it. And that's, if you have an immersion blender, you can use that as well. I don't, so I just used a regular blender, and you're just gonna pulse that, and so it's a little smooth, and you're gonna add that back into your soup. Again, you're not doing that to all the beans and all the meat that's in there as far as the bacon. You're just taking some of the beans and pulsing it with some of the liquid. And that's going to help thicken the soup. But what's really going to thicken the soup is the pasta. Now, guys, on my bad with this, I shouldn't have added that whole box of pasta. I should have added probably 3/4 of the box because it turned out to be way too thick at the end. But that was okay. It still came out great. And just a tip, after you add the pasta, you cannot walk away from this. You literally have to sit there and stir. I walked away probably for 30 seconds to go throw something away and get something, and it was already starting to stick. So please do not walk away. Just keep stirring. You see how thick that is? Super thick. I kept having to add water to it. So do not add the whole box of pasta. Add about 3/4 of the box, I would say. Or even half of the box if you like a lot of broth in your soup. But it was so yummy. This is like perfect for like a rainy day or a cool day. You see me scraping the bottom because, again, if you do not stir, it starts to stick. So I think we can start serving up this yumminess.